this is my favorite part that we're getting to of this conversation. This is what I've been waiting for the whole time. Let's speculate on what's going to come next. You guys have been talking a lot about secret Avengers, whether or not we're going to see some more of Cap and have them sort of do these, I don't know, side missions. I'm curious, like, where do you think those would fall if they are going to do that within the MCU movies we know are coming?
Yeah, it's interesting because, we'd assume for a long time that, like, Chris Evans, because Chris Evans, just going in was, like, he talked openly about being hesitant when he signed, the deal to do these movies, and he only, I know it's funny to say, only signed for 6 movies, but a lot of the other cast members were signing 9-picture deals, and he only did 6. And the fact is that now he's revealed he's changed his deal enough that he's in both the Avengers movies, whatever they call them, now that it's not going to be Infinity War Part 1 and 2. So right now I'm I assume we're not going to see Cap until the next Avengers movie, but who knows? I mean, maybe he could have a small role in Black Panther. We talked about Winter Soldier seeming likely now to pop up in Black Panther. Maybe Cap could too, but if nothing else, I feel like they have enough characters and enough interweaving that we could get updates on what's happening.
Right.
And it's it could be, just in one of these movies, someone does show up who's sort of attached to this world. I mean, you've got everyone from the fact of Hawkeye, but Sharon Carter and all these sort of conduits. So I think that we're going to get maybe some updates on what's happening along the way, even if we don't see Captain America himself on screen till Avengers, which is still what most likely to me. But not only would I love to be pleasantly surprised, but I think the chances seem likelier now than it did a couple years ago that maybe Chris Evans would be sure. I'll pop up in, I don't know, Guardians 2 is a bad example.
But I don't know, Captain Marvel or Black Panther or something like that. We still aren't quite sure what they're doing with Captain Marvel, whether she's going to be, I don't know, cosmic or earthbound or what have you. Were there any other parts of this movie that got you really excited for movies yet to come? We obviously had the Spider-Man and Black Panther post-credit teases that gave us a little bit of a hint of what might come next there.
Things that are coming next. I don't know. I feel like in other movies we will maybe we'll hear about what the secret Avengers are up to, but we won't actually see them, kind of like you're saying. I could see that happening because when else would we see a full team of Avengers assembled, Iron Man's or Captain America's, until we get to Infinity War?
That's when I got to that part in the movie, my first thought was, okay, we will get the reunion at some point in Infinity War. But I do like that this movie restrained itself from too heavily setting things up. I think that was the biggest problem with Age of Ultron, which is that it was serving too many masters and it was setting up all these other things. That said, I'm always down for a good Thanos reference. I'm always down for a good check-in with that side of the universe.
Yeah, it's just if you do it well. I mean, that's the problem with the Thor subplot in Age of Ultron is it just felt it was not naturally part of the movie, right? It just felt like I'm gonna go and have some setup for my next movie, Right. But there's a way to do that. Like we were saying, the Vision scene is a great example of he's bringing up the stone and the fact that he doesn't understand it all, but it's all about him in this moment connecting with Scarlet Witch, so it didn't feel
I remember this.
It is that too, but you can do both more deftly than Age of Ultron did it.
Speaking of Scarlet Witch, one thing I think they might be setting up is something to do with Avengers Disassembled, even though they just disassembled the Avengers. But I feel post-Infinity War, if they keep building on this idea of Scarlet Witch getting very powerful and not having complete control over it, I feel like they could do that storyline. For those who don't know, try not to do huge spoilers, but she loses control of her. This is a huge spoiler.
She Dark Phoenixes.
Yeah, she Dark Phoenixes. She loses control of her powers and accidentally kills some of the Avengers, destroys the mansion, and then the Avengers disassemble. They splinter. They eventually have to reform. A new crisis happens later on, and then she actually
not a DC crisis.
Yeah, and eventually she actually remakes the world in a perfect vision because she's a mutant in the comic books, or she was, not anymore. And this is the storyline called House of M, but obviously they can't do that because Fox owns the X-Men.
Well, we'll see who owns what by the time we get to that point.
In a Phase 4 movie, that could be it. An Avengers Disassembled based around the Scarlet Witch losing control of her powers, remaking the world, and we can sort of see what everyone's fantasy dream life is because she gives every character they want, so they'll stop fighting. But then it all goes wrong, of course, as scenarios like that often do. So I feel that I got a lot of strong Avengers Disassembled vibe from Scarlet Witch for this. So I feel that's one thing they could be setting up longer term, even past Infinity War.
Yeah, and of course, it's a lot will depend on what happens in these Avengers movies. Because I was even thinking when Ant-Man and the Wasp happens is Scott Lang like on the run, because at the end of this movie, Cap is breaking them all out.
That's true. That could be another movie that they check back in.
Right, but that's coming out right after the next Avengers movie. I'm trying to. I don't know if it's going to be called Infinity War. But so by the end of that movie, will that be done? Will they no longer be fugitives, or will they still be fugitives, and they'll have to sort of deal with the fallout there? I definitely think this means, though, by the next Ant-Man movie, now that he's way more connected, both through Falcon and now with Cap and all these guys, that Ant-Man and the Wasp will probably have an Avenger or two, pop up.
Yeah,
as well.
I think that it's sort of at the point where it's hard to imagine a lot of these movies not having it. Maybe Doctor Strange, which was, as Civil War was setting up other movies, it sort of looked over Doctor Strange because we haven't been introduced to him yet. And we're getting more of the quantum realm there and magic and that side of the MCU. I'm very curious if we see anyone pop up in that movie. Or I know it's not like an origin movie, or if it feels a lot more standalone.
I think it will. My guess is that movie feels much more standalone, but then a post-credit scene they haven't shot yet, because a lot of times they'll do that, will probably include a much more meet so-and-so.
Yeah. Man, I'm just so giddy that the movies are now the same as the comic book shelf, where any hero from any franchise or team can appear in another hero's story. I just read a comic book with Wolverine went and visited Doctor Strange. Well, obviously that wouldn't happen in here, obviously because of movie rights. But just the idea that Hulk is probably going to be a part of the Thor movie, and that we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, but we know we're probably going to see some Avengers in there. So it's this fully developed world, and it just makes me so happy that they're all these different heroes get to play in each other's sandboxes. Because it used to be just one hero, that's it. But we're way past that, and it's so exciting. Also, you were just talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp, and all I could think of was all Paul Rudd's hilarious lines. There's he say Mr. Captain America.
He's hysterical.
So we are
great.
so excited about what is yet to come in Phase 3 and beyond. Were you guys getting some Secret Avengers vibes, maybe some House of M vibes? Let us know in the comments.